having a mindset, a forward-thinking mindset, adapt before best practice becomes yesterday's news.
Welcome to the Legacy Branding Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Beauparlant, here to guide you through the journey of selling your business and building a personal brand that leaves a lasting impact. On the show, we'll explore real-life founder stories, expert insights, and actionable strategies to help you navigate the transition, avoid post-sale crisis, and create your impact-driven legacy brand. Whether you're thinking of selling, building to sell, or already on the other side, this podcast is your go-to resource for making your next evolution your best one yet. Let's dive in. Today on the Legacy Branding Podcast, I'm joined by Kevin McGrew, a battle-tested Navy veteran turned serial entrepreneur who's built 6 companies and exited 3 of them on his own terms. Kevin is the author of The New Rules of Marketing Warfare, the founder of EverSocial, a digital growth agency, and the creator of the SMAC framework, designed to help underdog businesses outmaneuver the giants. His experiences give him a unique perspective on what it really takes to build, scale, and sell successfully. And when he's not rewriting the rules of digital marketing, you'll find him swapping war stories over coffee, bourbon, or a good cigar. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Wow, who is that masked man? I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Laura.
I love that. Well, I'd love to swap war stories over coffee. Maybe not, maybe bourbon. I'm not sure about the cigar.
But... I'll have to teach you. Once you've gone there, you don't go back.
Yeah, there was a time many, many moons ago, but
just don't inhale. That's what I thought.
Oh, yes. All right. So this is where I want to start. You've built 6 companies and you've exited 3 on your own terms. And that's a powerful phrase, especially for founders who often feel they're pushed by burnout or market pressures to sell. So I want to know what on your own terms means for you, and how did you achieve that?
I stumbled onto it, to be honest. I've always had an entrepreneurial edge to me. There's a better way to do this. Even my mom said, she'd tell me to do something. I go, there's a better way to do this kind of thing, right? So yeah, that constant seeking the next level. Why isn't anybody doing this and solving problems? I think businesses is all about building something to solve people's problems or other businesses' problems. So I'll kind of work backwards. What my own terms means is that over time, learn to be ready to sell so that I could be in control of my own terms. The first opportunity I had, I missed. A big opportunity. I could have been a gazillionaire very young, but I think God had other plans. But yeah, I learned that you don't always have to want to exit. I don't think any of my businesses I started with exit as a desire, but I knew that if it's kind of like selling a home, if your home is always ready, looks like a nice place to visit, people can drive by, that it's ready to sell. If somebody came along and said, hey, here's a check and it's the right money, you go, I'm ready, let's go. Right? That analogy, don't have an empty home when you're showing it. Make sure it's staged. Get it, know what they want, know what they're looking for, and have it ready to go. But it's a nice place to operate from while you're operating as well. So that's what my own terms means, is knowing. I didn't always know what I wanted for it. I didn't know what the valuation was. I didn't know those things, but I knew that I didn't want to be on the defense. I don't like to negotiate from a defensive position.
I think that's a great lesson. And I love that analogy of the house. And I think if you let a house fall into total disrepair, like if you have your house for 20 years and you do nothing to it, you're either going to be having to spend a ton of money to get it up to shape in order to sell it, or somebody's going to lowball you for the house. You could translate that story directly into a business. If you don't have things aligned, you don't have systems, receipts are in a shoebox, you haven't filed taxes in years, you have no contracts, whatever, like any of those things, you don't own your domain name. That's one of the things that I always red flag for people. Those things are the things that you're then scrambling. And so even if somebody came check in hand ready to buy your business, you would not be near ready.
Even though I knew that, it happened to me. I kicked my butt because I had HP, Hewlett Packard. Compaq wanted to buy me. We were a partner with Compaq. They literally just offered me $5 million for my business. I don't think it was worth that, but they wanted to tie me into, we had just done a lot of work to help them really look good on a few projects. Long story short, I didn't have a due diligence, but I didn't even know what that was. I wasn't ready. And this beautiful cruise ship pulled up and sailed off without me, basically. And I said, never again, never again. And so that kind of led me into understanding better, how do you prep for exits?
I love that. So you exited 3 on your own terms, and then you had 3 others. So you just mentioned one where the cruise ship left without you. Can you share any stories or lessons from those other ones?
That didn't sell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A company I developed called Sherlock Online. It's the world's lost and found. And I was in New York in a taxi, kind of like Toronto, in the rainy fall day, and it was dark, and I was beta testing the Palm Pilot. I don't know if you remember the Palm Pilot, but I was one of 5 people that got my hands on one before it came out to the public. I'm not used to having a Palm Pilot in my hand, and I'm trying to pay the taxi driver back in the day where you had to pay with cash and stuff. Anyways, I left the Palm Pilot on the seat and got out of the cab and did this and go, oh my gosh, this is like priceless. Nobody's got one. And now I got to tell the founders that there's one in the wild there. I said, there's got to be a better way. So again, on the journey, I had an asset tracking business at the time that we dealt with B2B companies, but I go, there's got to be a way to track lost stuff. And so I founded Sherlock Online. I raised $20 million in venture capital. That's a whole story about raising money. I did 60 different VCs up and down the coast from Vancouver all the way down to San Diego and New York and you name it. And I learned a lot through that. People don't invest in horses, they invest in jockeys. I learned that at the very end. But I didn't prepare to sell it. It was my baby. Nobody really understood it like I did. It was a real passion story, origin story from it. And I didn't package it in a way that it wasn't tied to me. The market tanked, which was 9/11, basically, and a lot of uncertainty like COVID. And I didn't think about selling. It was a fire sale, basically. I had to let people, my investors, everybody, the world was going to end. Nobody knew what was going on. So then I was tranched investing. I didn't get the tranches in time. We were close to hitting our milestones, but not there. It was all these reasons. But if I would have planned for an exit, I could have exited at any point. And by the end of it, I was starting a fire with rocks kind of thing to keep it going. And so I didn't get anything out of it. And I was worth a lot on paper. Some of my partners bought Lamborghinis and stuff. My wife wouldn't let me stop driving the Honda Accord kind of thing until the money's in the bank kind of thing. There's a lot of things I learned from that process. And I think God was trying to teach me not to hold on to things so tightly. And that was a big lesson, but it prepped me for future exits that I came upon. So I think we always learn the hard way as entrepreneurs. I think we always learn the hard way, but it's better to learn from Laura's hard ways and Kevin's hard ways than your own hard ways, right?
Yeah. So if somebody's listening, hopefully they'll get something from your stories. And that's the whole goal of this podcast, is to really share the stories of founders who've exited in different ways with different results, different personal experiences, money experiences, all of those things, so they can see what it's like. Because while there are people who've had multiple exits like you out there, there's very few that actually sell their business, let alone who've done it multiple times. And if you're doing it for the first time, you don't know what you don't know. So if you can learn from other amazing people like you, then you're coming in that much more prepared.
It's definitely learn from those who plowed that ground before. Why reinvent the wheel?
And I think what you said about it being your business baby, I mean, that's going to resonate with me. That resonates, I'm sure, with many people listening. I remember years ago, it was shortly after we had our second son, and people were like, oh, are you guys going to have another baby? I always find it interesting when you've just had a baby and people ask you when you're having your next baby.
I know. You're just getting used to this one.
Give me a break. But I said, well, no, we actually have 4 babies. And they'd look at me a little strangely. And I said, well, we have 2 human babies and 2 business babies. My husband and I are both entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, you get it. I'm not sure the people that weren't entrepreneurs got it quite as much.
Right.
It was true. And your identity becomes very wrapped up in it. It is who you are, how you identify, how people identify you. It's something you've built, you've grown, you've nurtured it, you've fed it, just like your children. Like, I can see a huge correlation to raising a child and growing a business. And so there is an emotional attachment for so many people.
I think that's the biggest, you need that in some ways when you're starting out. I think it's like how God gives a mom the gift to really look out for their babies because it's yours, right? And a business, you're going to have a lot of whispering, a lot of bankers and people telling you ways to run your business. And without that passion and that deep sense of ownership, you can lose it. So I think it's really the art of moving from a player to a coach is what I tell people. If you think about a soccer team or something like that, you were a player at one point. You have to move into coaching from the sidelines. You can't jump in there and score the goal. You can't do that. And as soon as you can make that transition, now you start to let go a little bit more. It's like being a parent. Sometimes you want to go and save the kid from falling. Sometimes they got to fall themselves and you got to cheer them, get up. You can do it, kind of thing. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, is working with letting go to my employees, because I have this superhero complex of nobody can do it as good as me. And that's my own problem, but I don't think everybody has that problem. But I think with that comes that holding on to things too tightly. And my wife taught me a really good lesson when we had kids, if I can share it, probably in the 90s when we were having babies. And they had a new kind of diaper service where you can get cloth diapers, and it was brand new. And my wife, I'm like, I'm not doing cloth diapers. I like throwing things away, especially when they stink. So she went for it. And so one night in the middle of the night, she goes, can you get up and change the baby? And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to go in there. What I learned is usually they go a couple times and I'm usually up a couple times. So this time I'm going to make sure they don't leak. So I put on 3 diapers. She woke up and the baby's like fine, but it had 3 diapers on it. And she goes, why did you waste 3 diapers? I go, is there any leakage? Is there any mess? No. Don't tell me how to do it. Let me do it my way, right? And what I learned is not everybody's going to change diapers the same way. And in business, sometimes people don't operate a business the same way you would. And unless you're willing to do SOPs and write everything down and dump your brain into a way of a system, you got to let people smack, shoot, move, adapt, and communicate. So that's kind of the transition I had to make, is to not everybody's going to do it the way I do it. I see it very clearly how it needs to be done. I need to ask them questions. How do you see it? Buy into their, collaborate with them. And it might not be as good as mine, but it'll get done. Let them do it. I think when you can start doing that, you're starting to prepare yourself to be not so tied to the business.
Yeah. And I think for me, I have teenagers now.
You're too young to have teenagers. Come on, Laura.
Thank you. 14 and 18, and I'm having to let go in so many ways. So I think a lot of what I'm experiencing as a mother, letting them kind of, okay, I can't control everything, and they're not going to do everything the way I would, or I have to just allow them to do the things.
It's so hard. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also the same with a business, and creating that doesn't mean you love it any less, but it's also filling your life with other things that fulfill you. And one of the things I talk about a lot with my clients, or that I've heard stories on the podcast, is when your only thing is your business, when that goes away, who are you? And so finding those other things in your life, so your life is full and it's more than just that one thing. It can be hobbies, it could be sports or other activities.
Or new business.
Exactly. It could be so many different things, but relationships and connections, it's really finding what's important to you and how you want to live your life. Your business is only one piece of that.
100%. That just brought up something in my head that I've been struggling. I'm 59, but I look in the mirror. Until I look in the mirror, I think I'm 18. And then I look and I go, what happened to you? I'm transitioning from warrior to wise man, more legacy. And I don't know how to do it. I'm very naturally a warrior. Let's go to war. Let's lock and load. but I have to lay down the sword. I have to teach others how to use the sword. And that is a thing I'm trying to replacement therapy, if you will. Like when I think warrior, I got to think give the sword, teach how to use the sword. Back to your point of identity, I think that's the biggest, we talked about the baby thing, is just like a parent, sometimes when the kids leave home, or they go to college, they got accepted and you weren't ready for it, a lot of people lose their identities tied up in their kids. So I think people can relate to that even if you're not a business owner. But business owners, that is our problem, is that's why I say transition from player to coach. It's not as hard. It's always hard. It's still something that's part of you, right? And nobody will know what the early days look like and what you went through I still see that picture of Bezos kind of sitting there at that cheap looking desk, and he had hair still. And that was the early days of Amazon. Everybody goes, oh, look at that picture. That's Amazon when it first started. But those were the days when you didn't know. I mean, you didn't know you're going to be a gazillionaire. You didn't know what the future held. You were taking a lot of risks, and that all those angst, and you miss those in some ways, those moments. Yeah. So for me, I'm not any younger. I keep on thinking, I'll just start another business. But I'm at this with Eversocial. I'm 18 to 24 months out from probably exiting. I've got a lot of people asking. The book has brought a lot of attention, but I'm not ready yet. Not yet is what I'm saying. I'm not saying no, I'm saying not yet. The other thing I'm doing is, like you said, hobbies, these kind of things. I don't think I could ever retire personally. And I think there's a lot of people like me, because I hear that a lot. Oh, find a hobby, go play golf, do this. And I was like, shoot me, right? Yes, I want more free time. I want more time with my granddaughters. I want all those kind of things, but I need to be active. And I think most men do. So what I'm doing is using this book as a way to help others do what I did, but also I'm moving into more of a coach in a sense, or speaker, sharing my story, helping others, and being more legacy driven than revenue driven. And that's given me the excitement of what the next steps could be like. But you got to have that goal in mind. It's like when my kids were little, like they'd have something valuable in mind. I would go, give that to daddy. And they're like, no. But I said, oh, look at this. I'm going to give that to them. You swap it out, and they were good with it, right? So sometimes we need that thing to go to before we let go of the other thing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now, even with Eversocial, is how do I create these systems? How do I make it so I can go to Portugal for a month and nobody even knows I'm gone? That's my tests kind of thing. You always say like, oh, nobody's going to take care of my kids. I can't leave them. You do that in a business owner, but you got to test these things. Go for a week. Nobody die? Okay, you're good. You can go for longer, but you're not going to go from zero to hero all of a sudden. You got to kind of start practicing these exit exercises or habits ahead of time.
Hey founders, quick shameless plug for the sponsor of this podcast and my company, Lab Creative, where we help ambitious founders untangle their personal brand from their business so they can position the company to sell and build a personal brand for their next evolution. If that sounds like you, head to labcreative.ca to check out our work and to book a call with me. Or if you want to just dip your toe in first, grab a copy of the Founders Brand Playbook. It's our free step-by-step guide to building a brand that attracts premium buyers and creates opportunities for you post-sale. You can download it at labcreative.ca/playbook. Somebody I just had on the podcast said she talked about, rather than thinking of exiting from something, think about exiting to something.
What a good saying.
And I was like, oh, that is brilliant, because I think we often think about the thing we're leaving behind, but forget about what are we doing after? What happens when you have that blank calendar?
Yes.
And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, the idea of retirement isn't something we are really striving for. A guest I recently had, I don't know if you saw that episode, Derek Coburn.
I did.
Let's Retire Retirement. He has a book all about that. And I think this idea of retirement can look so different. I think it could be retiring from maybe working and hustling and being as revenue and money driven as you might be in your earlier years, because you need that, and doing it for purpose, doing it for legacy, doing it because you have so much wisdom now to go from warrior to wise man, to share with people. And that could be shifting into speaking and coaching. And you've already got the book. And I see that transition happen for so many entrepreneurs. And that's why I love this place of where you're at and other entrepreneurs are at, where they're in that state of transition where they can imagine retiring, but they have so much more to give still.
Yeah, I'm addicted to the making chaos calmness. I think that's my biggest fear. I keep on saying, I think my wife would kill me first because she wouldn't know what to do with me being home so much. But I miss the chaos and turning it into calmness. And that is something even I know so much. I think I'm trying to I have hired a mindset coach to help me in replacement thinking, because I do have this superhero. If you look in my office, I'm not going to show you, but I have Superman posters and cards for my kids. And 99% of the time, I'm Clark Kent with Goofy with the glasses and everything. But when the bullets are flying, the cape comes out, right? And I thrive on that. It's an addiction. So I need to let other people become superheroes and teach them how to use those powers.
I love that. So I want to talk about your SMAC framework, because I think it's obviously rooted in your military background and in that strategy. So talk me through. So it's shoot, move, adapt, communicate. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. What I learned in the military, I was 18 years old. So it was a long time ago. It was 4 years of my life, but it was very impactful because I came from a very chaotic upbringing. Both my parents were business owners. Imagine that. One had a pizzeria, the other had a trucking business. I was driving forklifts, fueling up I smelled like diesel fuel half the time, and then I'm making pizzas after school. But it's all about survival. How do you survive? How do you go to the next day? And this chaotic environment, you need frameworks when chaos is around you. And what I learned in the military is, as I looked around all these people, we were in the middle of the Cold War, very high tensions with Russian incursions into our territory. Like, we were right in the middle of it all, and everybody was peaceful in the midst of the storm. I want that. I want that more than anything else as a young man, because I didn't see that at home. It was always panic and reaction and find a way. And so SMAC stands for shoot, move, adapt, communicate. Shoot with purpose, not volume. Every campaign has a strategic objective, not just an activity. So if you think of it from that way, is shoot with purpose, right? Move is, while competitors stall, we prioritize speed over perfection, because market timing beats market research, is what I tell my customers. And a lot of times you've heard of analysis paralysis. That's the opposite of the move theory. It's kind of just move and you'll figure it out by moving, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then because you're moving, you need to adapt, because you're not standing still. Some rock comes at you, something comes in front of you, obstacle. You need to be able to adapt quickly. So having a mindset, a forward-thinking mindset, is to be able to, I would say, adapt before best practice becomes yesterday's news. Mm-hmm. So we're constantly iterating based on real-time feedback. So if you have your systems in place, you have your data coming in to go to Google Analytics so that you kind of know where to go, you can make quick decisions. And that was like in a military where I worked, it was called the Combat Information Center. And it was where all the data came in, not just for our ship, but for the entire battle group. We had to take that very rapidly, disseminate it, and make decisions, life and death decisions a lot of times based on that information. So in business, we need those systems to thrive in chaos and to go up against Goliaths. We're Davids. Most of 99.9% of businesses have less than 20 employees. We need to be able to do things different. We're trying to replicate what the big guys do all the time, and that's wearing armor, walking into battle with a shield and a sword and a spear. We're not going to beat Goliath on his terms. You got to know how to use the slingshot really well. Every Goliath has a vulnerability or a weakness. Find it, go after it. So that's part of the SMAC thinking. And then the last thing in SMAC is C, communicate. So your story becomes their rallying cry. Messages turn into customers, into advocates. So if you don't speak clearly, your customers aren't going to speak clearly for you. So it's amplified communications through knowing who you are, what you're about, solutions you provide, and being able to communicate that well, and then others can run with that message. You're unstoppable at that point. You're David going up against Goliath.
What led you to create this? Like, what led you in all the businesses that you've created? When did you come to this framework?
It started really about 25 years ago when I was writing a letter to my kids on how to survive. I had like you, I think you had a near-death experience. I had a situation where it scared the heck out of me, and I had young kids. And I started to write letters to them and videotape myself and share my values and what I wanted for them, because I knew there could be another time where I didn't come home. Oh, wow. And it was something my dad taught me. It was called the FAW principle, F-A-W, find a effing way, basically. I was a young kid. I remember 8 years old calling my dad. I wanted to play baseball, and I got home. All my friends, hey, let's go play baseball. Let's go. And I had to mow the lawn. And I knew if I didn't do my chores, I'm toast. And so I'm really good at getting out of things or talking. So I called my dad and I go, Dad, there's no gas for the lawnmower. And he goes, FAW. And he hung up because my mom wouldn't let him cuss. He's a Marine, cuss like a sailor. And so his way of not cussing was find a effing way. So yeah, I figured it out. I went to a neighbor, worked in their garage to clean up their garage so I can get some gas. I didn't owe anything. I didn't say, let me borrow gas. I owned it. I used it. I played baseball, came in when the lights got dark. My dad got home. He was happy, good job, kid. Everything was good. And the philosophy is it takes just as much energy to find a way or find a solution than it does to make an excuse. But our lizard brains tell us not to do things, like to try not to use energy. It's just a natural thing. So we try to get out of doing things. So it's a mindset. FAW evolved into SMAC in that it's a proactive framework you use when you can't think. We need frameworks. When the bullets are flying, you have to go from muscle memory. And that's why you train so much in the military. And so when chaos ensues in the Navy, for us, it was general quarters. Everybody knew their job. We sat there, we practiced, bored to death for hours, doing it over and over and over again. So when the real thing happened, you're like calmness in the chaos, right? So we have to practice when there is no chaos for when there is chaos. And that's what SMAC is for. Is business owners are constantly in chaos, and a framework is what's going to get you through that chaos. You just follow the plan. It becomes muscle memory, and before you know it, you're a superhero. You're a commander, a field commander versus a reactor. Shoot is knowing who your audience is. If you know who you're shooting at, you don't have to spray and pray. You're going to be a sniper. You can take one shot, one hit, right? Move is that proactive movement. Don't stand still. Like in the military, they teach this SMC, it's called shoot, move, communicate. When you're going through like Fallujah or these urban centers, is if you stay still, they're going to rally against you like they did in Somalia when the helicopters went down. They didn't keep moving, so they were able to get them, and some men died, right? But if you're constantly moving, your enemy's constantly reacting. And as a small business owner, that's the advantage that we have, is to be agile. Big guys can't be agile. They're like aircraft carriers. We're like fast attack submarines. Use that advantage. And so that's move. And adapt is knowing, like in my combat information center, I know I can read things very quickly so I can make business decisions very quickly. A lot of people I say business is war, marketing is the battlefield, and most business owners are going to war blindfolded. And just a lack of data, lack of information. And 50% of businesses, according to the American Small Business Administration, will not make it after 5 years. 20% go out the first year, 50% by the fifth year, and 75% by year 10. And that's lack of marketing. Like in marriage, finances is the number one killer of a marriage, poor financial management. In business, it's the owner doesn't understand marketing. They outsource blindly, not without knowing enough to be dangerous. My job, this book here, is to help 1 million businesses for the next 10 years not be a statistic. It's your battle plan, basically. That's why I wrote this. It wasn't so I could be popular or make money. If anybody wrote a book knows you're not going to be a millionaire, right? And that's why I give away all the proceeds for this to a special needs organization, because I'm not going to make money from this. But the bigger thing is you need battle plans. You need when you're going to battle, you need to know intel. I'm not going to send guys in if I don't know what I'm going into, right? And a lot of times we spray and pray, and that we blow through a lot of budget. We try advertising and didn't work. I tried that. I hear that all the time. Most business owners hate marketing. They actually hate marketing. So I'm an agency. I'm helping them navigate that. We're a fractional CMO. We're like a Navy SEAL team for small businesses that want to grow. That's what we do. They hit a ceiling and they go, I can't do this anymore by myself. I need a team. We're an instant team, instant leadership, commander. You're going to get guidance and you're not going to die on the battlefield. So there are a lot of armies out there that are marketing armies, but that's where they try to operate like a big company and hire a big agency, and they spend a lot of money and they don't have enough money to operate like a big company. So that's that whole David versus Goliath mindset. The book is The New Rules of Marketing Warfare is what it's called. I'm going to do a plug here. It's a battle plan for winning customers, scaling quickly, and beating competitors. That's the purpose. It's here you go, hopefully millions of businesses, and whoever chooses to read it, and we have a community for it, where once you read the book, you're going to start talking like a military commander. You're going to want other people that think that way. And so we built a small community, but of knowledgeable, how do I apply this to my business now? And so
I'm looking forward to reading.
Thank you. I want to send you a copy. Obviously, sign. I have a special author's stamp and everything. I want to send to you. Yeah,
I'll send you a signed copy of mine too.
I'm dying for it. Yes,
we'll do a book exchange.
I love it.
I love it. I love your passion, and I totally agree. I think small businesses, we're much more nimble, as you said. Like, we can make those quick decisions and shift the needle so much differently. Yes, they may have more budget, but we have a lot of things that they don't have.
And that's the one thing you got to lean into. Patrick Bet David, I don't know if you heard of him. He's a big podcaster, very well-known right now, all this tariff talks and all this kind of stuff. But anyways, he did just a quick TikTok saying, I want to share with you why successful business people are successful. And he goes, I get a hold of a lot of very famous people, and the ones that are the most successful are the ones that get back to me right away. It really freaked me out because the ones that are successful, they're very popular, but they don't get back to you. They send your assistant to get back to you. They're not as successful in my eyes. And he goes, I got it now. He goes, I realize that successful people make quick decisions. And they don't want someone else outsourcing their decisions. They want to just make it and live with it. They have that innate compass in the fog of which way to go. And that is a trained thing. It can be trained, but you got to practice it like anything. When in the military, when we would be shot at, your natural instincts to run. And so they would just train us. They would train us. They would do an ambush over here. We would run towards the bullets, run over here, run towards the bullet. After a while, you just you hear a bullet, you start running towards it. And that's the Marine Corps training. But my dad would just constantly do that with me, is when other people are running, that's when there's opportunity. He had a safe moving business, and nobody wanted to move a 5,000 pound safe for Lionel Richie into his new home, right? And he goes, I'll do it. And I'm like, Dad, we've never moved a 5,000 pound safe before. And he goes, we're going to fall. We're going to find a way. And when we did that, Lionel Richie told all his friends, and we were the exclusive movers of Hollywood, basically, for safes. But sometimes you got to run towards the bullets. That's where the opportunities are. So anyways, that's my ramble there.
I love it. Okay. I definitely have a few more questions.
Okay.
So let's
rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I wanted to touch on this because I know you have a business brand and a personal brand.
Yes.
And obviously that I was like, oh, yay. I was very happy to see that, because that is what I advise all founders, is to have a personal brand,
so important,
and a business. So I want to know what led you to that decision.
I like being behind the scenes, very honestly. I'm the wind beneath a lot of founders' wings, and I know how to coach them. I have a TV doctor who I coached her all through her, she's very good on camera, amazing, but behind the scenes, very insecure, not knowing what to do. She needed a lot of direction. And what I realized is we all have those insecurities. And I struggle with it. And so I read this book called The Alter Ego Effect.
Oh, yeah,
And
that's a good one.
Opened my eyes and I go, I need an alter ego. So I started a Instagram page to start with. I have one called I Am Kevin. So if you want to follow me there, that's my business, my personal life. It's Kevin. I am Kevin. And then I have one also that has 20,000 plus followers. This one has 20,000 plus followers. It's called Cigar Man Official. So this is my most interesting man in the world persona. I'm goofy Clark Kent over here. This is my Superman look. And so that alter ego, right? I practice it because it was a challenge. I manage a lot of user generated content for my clients and stuff. I deal with creatives all the time and it's like herding cats. Right. And so I go, I can do this too. And so I did it, built 20,000 followers. Now I get free bourbon, free cigars from Cuba. I realized you need an alter ego. We have a lot of self-doubt, a lot of limiting beliefs as founders, a lot of scars from the battle. And we don't want to show our scars. But that's when we can get to that point, that's where people love us the most.
Yeah.
Right. And so you got to start small. That's why I started with the Instagram thing, but it led to LinkedIn. And I've been preaching this to all my founders, all my customers like you. And they're like, well, why don't you do it? And literally it wasn't until I think it was last summer, 2024 that I said, okay, I'm going to do it. I mean, just a year ago. And it's not like I got tens of thousands of followers, but I got a really good community. And I'm getting business from it because I'm sharing my journey. It's also helping me to let go of my identity in my business. I'm building my identity in myself on LinkedIn, and I have a voice and I'm sharing my voice, and it's been goofy at many times. I've used AI and used emojis all over the place. And now I cringe going, oh my God, what was I thinking? And I've made a lot of mistakes, but making the mistakes is what makes you you. We're human. And I think the more AI comes out, the more people crave humanness.
I say that all the time. Yeah.
And so that's my journey. I do all my posts. I do have an assistant. She kind of ideates with me. She knows me. She just, in the chaos, she can give me like, we have Warfare Wednesday this week. What are we going to talk about? We talk about movie. We take a movie and turn it into a marketing play. So she'll put my script up and I'll go and I'll do the video, but she'll edit it and get it up, right? Because I know how to edit, but it'd take me forever. And if you want a real like hack, guys, here's a hack. Zync, ZYNC.ai. It will do everything for you, even edit and do B-roll in short form or long form, and even post it to your LinkedIn. It's real cheap. So Zync.ai, you'll thank me later and tell them Kevin sent you. But yeah, you got to find tools like that you try doing manually and then you automate everything, right? But back to your point, find your identity in who you are versus your business. And when you let go of the business, you still have your identity.
Absolutely. That's what I preach every day, is that you get to take your personal brand with you when you sell.
Build a personal brand. Everybody needs a personal brand. Start small, crawl, walk, run. Babies crawl before they walk, before they run, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned about the scars, and I have a saying that I heard years ago, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but it's to teach from your scars, not from your wounds.
Ooh, I love that. Can I borrow that?
Oh yeah. You can credit me, but
I will. I'll credit you
because
I learned from you. Yes.
It's something I've talked about for years because I don't believe we can teach from a wound. Like that's not when people need to hear from us, but it's the after, when the wound is healed and you're in a place where you can share the lessons and help somebody maybe not to have to go through what you went through or something. And that's what humanizes you. But if you share in the moment, and I say, if you vomit your personal life all over the internet, live in the moment as everything's happening, it can repel people. But when you are intentional and you choose the stories to tell and you teach from those scars, that to me is where the gift is. And that's so much learning both for you and the audience.
Thank you for that. That is like gold. Thank you. I love that because that has been the struggle, I think, is we don't want to share our wounds with people. We do, but we should teach from our scars. I love that. Yeah.
The idea for me is that You have to. And I have a whole framework on storytelling that's around this idea of, is now the time to
Is
tell
it a
the
course
story?
that we can buy?
No, it's a talk, and
It's on YouTube?
maybe a course.
Yeah, you should. I'll be your first buyer on that one.
Amazing. Awesome. Yeah. But it's a powerful framework because so many people they hold back and hide themselves because they're like, it's too personal. I don't know what to share. And therefore they don't share anything, or they're the opposite and they overshare everything. But if you looked at every story through that lens of, is this a scar or is this still a wound? It'll help you make better decisions.
Wow.
And now not every story is going to have a wound or a scar to it. Some are just funny stories, but those ones that are deep and personal, it's really identifying, is now the time to tell it? Or will this story hurt somebody?
Or even continue your wound.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. I have one last question. Legacy, obviously we've kind of touched on it, and it's the name of the podcast, Legacy Branding.
Yes.
What does legacy mean to you?
That's a great question. I think it's been a moving target as I've evolved as an owner, as an entrepreneur. I think it's really, legacy is not about me. I think it's about everyone else. And I think we moved to too much of a thinking of like, what is my legacy, right? But it's the my part comes out of what you leave behind. I think that's the evolution, was like, what is my legacy? It's like football game. It's halftime. I better start thinking about the end of the game here. And I'm in the fourth quarter myself. I'm 60 years old, right? And I'm selfishly thinking of my kids, my grandkids. But it's evolved to is, what can I do with what life has taught me, my scars, leave to others that will help them not have scars or those scars. And that's essentially this book. That's exactly why I wrote it. It took me a long time to write that book. It went fast once I had that purpose, when it was about others, not about me. So that's what legacy is to me, is what has life given you to share with others that you can leave behind, and it will help people long after you're gone. That's a legacy.
Peace. So how can people connect with you and buy your book and learn more about working with you?
Yeah, I think the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. If it's a business connection, if you want to continue the conversation, I'm very approachable. I care, and so I'm the one that accepts and not accepts people on LinkedIn. So yeah, please, it's Kevin McGrew. Then if you want to kind of follow what I'm doing and like follow a little bit of the journey, Instagram is great. I am Kevin as my personal kind of journey, and Cigar Man Official is more the fun side of me. I would say my website, if you're interested in what we do as a business or looking for help, we offer kind of some free, we call it Ask Me Anything, 45-minute consultation to help you just talk to somebody who knows what they know and help you think through it. Eversocial.com with a Z or a Z if you're in Canada. So EVERZOCIAL. So instead of social, Zocial, all one word. And kevinmcgrew.com is my personal brand, more about my book and things there. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Amazing. Everyone go check this out. We'll make sure to add all of those links in the show notes. Thank you so much, Kevin. This was a long one, but absolutely worth it.
Thank you. It's been a real privilege, and I'm super thankful that I met you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you, LinkedIn. Thanks for tuning into the Legacy Branding Podcast. I hope today's episode has inspired and empowered you on your journey to building a brand that truly matters. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other founders who you think would benefit from listening. And if you're ready to take the next step in building your legacy brand, visit our website, labcreative.ca, to learn more and book a call. Don't forget to join us next time for more conversations that will help you navigate your transition and create your legacy. Until then, I'm Laura Beauparlant.